What would you do if someone tried to claim your private ranch was part of their HOA? What if they fined you for painting your own barn? Or called the cops because you turned off your own water? And what if the person behind it all was a clipboard-wielding Karen on a power trip? I didn't think shutting off my own water would end with 3 sheriff cruisers on my ranch, but that's exactly what happened. All because of Karen. I live on an 80-acre private ranch that's been in my family for 3 generations. No streetlights, no sidewalks, just cattle, mesquite trees, and peace. Until 6 months ago, when the new HOA decided my land somehow fell under their jurisdiction. Spoiler alert, it doesn't, but that didn't stop them from trying. At first it was letters, then community guidelines, then fines for rules I never agreed to follow. All enforced by a woman known as Karen, Sharon Whitmore, the self-appointed enforcer of HOA tyranny. One day, while doing routine maintenance and shutting off water to an old wellhouse, I saw her on the road yelling into her phone, "He's destroying public property! I'm calling 911! Public property on my private ranch." 15 minutes later, police arrived and one of them wasn't even smiling. That was just the spark. It started innocently enough with a new housing development popping up nearby that came with its own HOA, which suddenly claimed jurisdiction over my land. My clearly marked property lines, supported by county-signed maps and my grandfather's name etched on the wellhouse, were met with notices like violation, unapproved landscaping, and failure to address guidelines may result in fines or legal escalation. Then Karen showed up at my gate with a clipboard and a saccharine smile, critiquing my barn's paint color like it was a matter of public safety, saying, "Not yet." And when I reminded her my land wasn't part of the HOA, I later discovered her plan was to expand the HOA's boundaries, to control my private space without permission. Within weeks, the absurd escalations began. A compliance officer snapping photos of my property, a drone buzzing overhead, fines for clearing brush for fire safety, and then the day I turned the master shutoff on my well and heard Karen scream that I was destroying HOA infrastructure. I calmly explained that it was my private well dating back to 1956, but she was already dialing 911. 3 police units showed up, and as one deputy smirked about Karen's repeated calls to the cops, I realized this battle was personal. I began documenting everything, photos, recordings, every ridiculous fine, and discovered that Karen was hiding skeletons, expired permits, illegally modified drainage, and invoices for bogus community improvements. It was time for revenge, and I knew the best weapon was the same bureaucratic playbook she used. I called Donnie, a land use attorney and former code officer, and over brisket and sweet tea we poured over the altered county plat maps and bogus filings that revealed Karen's scheme to annex my land. Phase 1 was legal. We sent all the damning files to the county planning board and the state real estate commission. Phase 2 was public. I erected a giant sign at my property line that boldly declared, "Not part of your private ranch property. Since 1956, trespassers will be prosecuted," lit by floodlights and motion sensors. Phase 3 was exposing her to the entire community, gathering testimonies from fellow homeowners who'd been fined for outrageous reasons, and compiling a dossier of financial fraud that we sent to residents, county officials, and local news outlets. Within 48 hours, the story went viral, and when Channel 9 came calling for an interview, I calmly said, "They tried to control my land with a clipboard and a rulebook. I used the truth and a county map." The final showdown came when the state regulatory board delivered a notice, and soon after, county code enforcement, the attorney general's office, and the sheriff descended on the subdivision. Karen, caught red-handed with $24,000 in unaccounted landscaping expenses and a forged plat map, was forced to step down from the HOA board, and her reign crumbled as the entire board was dissolved. At a neighborhood BBQ beneath my defiant sign, neighbors celebrated with laughter, a Karen piñata, and collective relief. I summed it up for the news crew. They tried to control my land with a clipboard and a rulebook. I used the truth and a county map. The vindication was complete when every fine and notice against me was wiped clean, and Karen, disgraced, left the community for a far-off condo. Now, as I stand on my ranch, the water flows clean, the fences remain unchallenged, and I reflect on the lesson. Boundaries only work when you enforce them, and sometimes enforcing them means making noise. If you're fed up with a Karen or an overreaching HOA, remember, you're not alone. Comment "Justice served" if you made it this far. And share your thoughts. What would you have done in my shoes? Keep your fences tight, your paperwork tighter, and never let anyone tell you how to run your land.